So welcome to the third example in the order of operations series. So in this one, we're going to take a look at a slightly different problem. And this problem says evaluate and gives us an expression. And the expression in this problem is minus t squared minus 4t plus 5. And then you see after that a semicolon and t equals negative 4. Now the point here is that you're supposed to put in negative 4 in for t and then follow the order of operations and work this problem out. So that's exactly what we're going to do. However, be mindful when you're doing this. So when you put a number in for a variable, which is what you're doing, always use parentheses. So in this case, when I'm going to put that minus 4 in, I'm going to use a set of parentheses like so when I put that t. And then 4, and then another set of parentheses, plus 5. Right? And now I'm going to follow the order of operations to do it. So I'll do that in a minute. So remember, important, use parentheses when putting a value in. Okay? And now we're going to follow the order of operations. All right. So order of operations says groups, exponents, multiply, divide, add, or subtract. So in this case, there are no groups to really work out, so exponents is what we're going to look at. And when I look at this exponent problem right here, right there, so I'm going to work that out. Minus 4 times minus 4, minus 4 times minus 4, and that works out as positive 16. So that's positive 16. Now remember, right there, and you still have that minus sign on the outside that carried down. And then over here, we still have minus 4 times minus 4 plus 5. Okay, now what? Well, we've done the exponents, so next up is multiplications and divisions, if there are any. And in this case, there is one multiplication right here. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So 4 times negative 4 is going to give me a negative 16. And I still have a plus 5. And this too is a multiplication in a sense. It's minus 1 really times positive 16. So that's going to give me a negative 16. So I'm doing this in super slow-mo so that you understand all the steps that are going on here. So subtraction and addition now is next. And so realize that what we have to do is from left to right. So I'm going to take a look at this subtraction piece right here. This problem right there. Right? So negative 16 is negative 16. And so now we have to subtract a negative. Well, subtracting a negative is like adding a positive, right? Adding a positive. So really our problem turns into that. It's still an addition subtraction problem and you have to work it from left to right. So the first thing to do is right there. Minus 16 plus 16. Minus 16 plus 16 is 0. And then we still have plus 5. And so 0 plus 5 is 5. So you see how these evaluate problems really are order of operations problems once you get that number placed in. Now we'll do another example of this, but I do want to point something out before I get to that next example. And that is the difference between, minus 4 squared and minus 4 whole thing squared. Exponents only see one item to their left. So this exponent only sees the 4. So in this case, when we work this problem out, what we really have is minus, and 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 becomes 16, and with that minus in front, it becomes minus 16. Now, in the second example's case, since exponents only see one thing to their left, you can sort of extend their vision in a sense by putting contact lenses on or these parentheses like things on. And what that does is it extends the vision of the exponent. So now the exponent can see from the beginning of that parentheses to the end of that parentheses. So this problem is really minus 4 times minus 4, which gives you positive 16. Okay, so very careful when you're working with variables. You can sort of see why I say use parentheses here, because there is a difference between minus 4 in the parentheses versus minus 4 outside the parentheses. Now, often I see students do the following. They'll write a problem like this, and they'll write that as positive 16, and that is of course wrong, right? So don't make that mistake. Always use parentheses when you're putting in a value for a variable. Let's take a look at a second example of evaluate, and that would be example 2, evaluate. And we have the expression 6x squared plus 3xy minus y squared, and we have two variables this time, minus 2 and y equals minus 3. So let's go ahead and put these numbers in, again using parentheses very carefully. So in for x goes minus 2, and again in for x goes minus 2, and in for y goes minus 3, and in for y goes minus 3. Okay, so again I look at the groups. There's nothing to do with any of those groups, so I'm going to follow that up by working my two exponents. I'm going to work the left exponent out, then the right exponent. So we just saw how to work these about having the parentheses. So this is really minus 2 times minus 2 right there. So that's going to work out to be positive 4. And you don't really need to write the positive. I'm just writing it for clarity here. Plus, and then over here, likewise, this is minus 3 times minus 3, which is going to be positive 9. And in this case, I won't write the positive. Right? There it is. And in between those two is 3 times minus 2 times minus 3. Alright, so now what? Well, now since we've done the exponents, we are looking for multiplications and divisions, if there are any to, since there are no exponents and no groups. So yes, there are multiplications, and I'm going to work these from left to right. So the first multiplication to work here is this one. So that one right there, 6 times 4 is 24. So there is that. And then there is more multiplication here. Again, I'm going to work this from left to right. So that first, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Might take 2 lines to do that one. So 24 plus 6 times 3 is 18, and negative times negative is positive, minus 9. And now it's a question of adding and subtracting, and I again work the problem from left to right. So these two get added first, and so 24 plus 18 is equal to, let's see, 3442, and then minus 9, and then 42 minus 9 is 33. And there is your answer. So remember, when you're doing these evaluate problems, to always use parentheses when you're putting in a variable.